Donald Trump is one of the most recognized figures in modern history. President, billionaire, TV personality. A man loved by millions and hated by millions. But people usually look at the final version. The man on the stage, the man in the White House, the man dominating headlines. The real question is different. What made him this way? Because no one wakes up one day and becomes Donald Trump. There are moments, pressure, family, victories, humiliation, loss, that shape a person long before the world sees them. Today, we are going back to the beginning. Not politics, not slogans, not election. We are looking at the moments that built his mind. The father, discipline over affection. Trump grew up under the influence of his father, Fred Trump. In that house, life was not built around emotional warmth. It was built around discipline, hierarchy, and performance. There were two categories: winners, losers, nothing in between. Showing weakness was dangerous. Crying, uncertainty, emotional vulnerability. These were not signs of humanity. They were signs that you were losing. That environment became the first mold of Donald's personality. A child learns what earns respect. And in that home, respect came through toughness. But the same environment affects children differently. 5 children, 1 father, 1 method. Yet not all of them became Donald Trump. That tells us something important. The same pressure can forge one child and break another. Military Academy at 13. At 13, Trump was sent to New York Military Academy. For some children, this would feel like punishment. For him, it became the perfect training ground. Competition, structure, ranking, obedience, victory. The lessons his father taught at home finally had a battlefield. And Trump adapted quickly. At that age, discipline enters deeper than later in life. It becomes part of identity. The academy gave him more than order. It taught him hierarchy. It taught him that people follow uniforms, titles, and visible authority. It taught him that status change how people respond to you. And he learned to like that. First, leadership among cadets. The academy wasn't just school. It became a rehearsal for power. Trump became captain among cadets, led student units, captained sports teams, and received recognition for performance. But the most important lesson wasn't achievement. It was this. People often listen not because you are right, but because you outtrump them. That realization changed many future leaders. He was rewarded for details. perfectly made bed, polished shoes, precision. Even small things had to signal superiority. This may explain something visible decades later. His body language, his handshakes, his dominance games, the way he physically establishes control in meetings. Wharton, status, not just education. Trump began college elsewhere, but later transferred to Wharton School. This was not only about education, it was about entering a different class of people. He did not want to remain simply the son of a developer. He wanted access to the elite. Wharton gave more than business lessons. It gave symbolic legitimacy. He could say, "I studied at Wharton." That phrase became part of his armor. Knowledge mattered, but status mattered more. Even arriving in expensive cars became part of his signal. "I belong above ordinary people." He wasn't collecting facts. He was collecting proof of rank. Live in Queens or Manhattan. Fred Trump ruled in outer boroughs like Queens and Brooklyn. Staying there meant one thing: remaining in his father's shadow. Always hearing, Fred's son. Never hearing his own name first. So Trump moved to Manhattan. That was a different world. Queens was stability. Manhattan was risk. In Manhattan, the strongest survive. He understood something, watching his father build ordinary housing. Stable buildings create income, but iconic buildings create identity. The transformation of Grand Hyatt, New York, from the old Commodore Hotel became symbolic. It was no longer just construction. It became signature. People didn't say, "Nice building." They said, "Trump built that." That was the beginning of his real brand. The bankruptcies of the 1990s. This was the true test. In the early 1990s, newspapers repeatedly described Trump's financial collapse. Trump business bankruptcies. But the danger wasn't only money. It was image. And for Trump, image was survival. When life is easy, many people seem strong. Success hides weakness. But crisis exposes character. This was his proving ground. His father's voice remained in the background. Losers fail. And now failure was public. That can destroy a man built around winning. He had two options: lose the empire and become the loser his father warned about, or survive and rebuild his name. He sold assets. He lost pieces. But he preserved the most valuable thing: the Trump name. That may have taught him one of his deepest rules. Sometimes perception matters more than ownership. The death of his older brother. Fred Trump Jr. showed the opposite side of the same upbringing. Same family, same father. different result. His brother struggled under pressure and later died after alcoholism. This may have deeply shaped Trump, not only because he lost family, but because he saw what pressure can do to someone who cannot carry it. He learned something darker. A person can break, and weakness becomes visible. That may explain why he avoided alcohol entirely, not from moral purity, from association. To him, weakness became danger. His brother may have become a warning. Never let pressure own you. The Apprentice, becoming the character. The Apprentice was not random. Trump fit perfectly because the role reflected his life. Judgment, elimination, ranking, public failure. Everything from childhood returned. Only now he was not the son being judged. He became the father figure. He became the one deciding who stays and who fails. At first, he played the role. Then the role reinforced him. Millions watched and saw power. Many admired it, not because they liked being controlled, because they imagined controlling others. That's the contradiction. People often despise arrogance in those about them, but secretly imagine themselves holding that same power. Entering politics through conflict. Trump did not enter politics traditionally. He entered through disruption. By 2015, all previous stages had prepared him. He understood that calm candidates disappear. Conflict gets remembered. People may forget polishes. They remember fights. Trump spoke the things many people said privately at dinner tables, but few politicians say it publicly. That gave him something powerful, raw authenticity. Even critics kept repeating his words, and repetition builds presence. He knew a simple rule. If everyone talks about you, you already control the room. Presidency and the cult of personality. The presidency became the final stage of everything before it. The child shaped by dominance. The student shaped by hierarchy. The businessman shaped by survival. The TV figure shaped by performance. Now, all of it affected not just his company, but entire nations. At that point, a leader can stop being only a person. He becomes symbol. For supporters, Trump became more than president. He became resistance to elites, rebellion, nationalism, identity. For critics, he became danger. But both sides fed the same force, attention. And attention increases power. Whether his presidency was good or bad, everyone decides for themselves. But one truth remains. Very few people can carry that level of pressure and remain unchanged. Power rarely creates personality. It reveals what was already inside. Donald Trump did not become Donald Trump in one election. He was built slowly. by a father who rewarded toughness, by institutions that rewarded rank, by failure that threatened his name, by laws that taught him fair, by television that turned him into symbol, by politics that gave him global power. The question is not whether he was good or bad. The deeper question is which moments create a person that the world later calls powerful. Because when you study someone like Trump, you are not only studying one man. You are studying what power does to human nature. And maybe something more uncomfortable. What already lives inside us before power reveals it.